us, what restores us, and what resilience means, and also how we can, have certain qualities which can help us build resilience or work on them. Things like emotional flexibility, relationships, emotional awareness. And today we will talk a little more on this topic, and we'll be exploring why it takes time for the nervous system, for the body to recover from stress. And why we could be thinking that, why can't I just get over it? But we need to realize what exactly the nervous system is doing, and how we can help it in healing by understanding it instead of fighting it. So that's what we'll be speaking about today. But before that, just for spending a few minutes in mindfulness as an arrival practice, I invite you to please sit down um, in a comfortable position with your back straight but not stiff. And before we look inward, maybe taking a look around you and noticing 3 colors. Noticing something beautiful in your environment. Now noticing something familiar. Notice a source of light. And notice something that makes the space feel safe. And then gently closing your eyes and feeling your feet on the ground. Taking a few breaths in and out mindfully. And then asking yourself, checking in, how do I feel in this moment? Do I feel safe? Am I safe in this moment? And today's session is about understanding that question. So, also reflecting on a few questions. Have you ever, you think, have reacted much more strongly than the situation seemed to deserve? Have you ever reacted more strongly to a situation and you thought it didn't deserve as much reaction? And we're just bringing these to mind. We're not trying to, attach to the story or to recover from it, just bringing it to mind. And then the next one, have you ever told yourself, I shouldn't be feeling this way. I know I shouldn't feel this way, but still have felt it? And then have you ever noticed that, after a stressful period, your body has remained tense even when the problem was over? And the last one, if you've ever been under pressure, what do you think changes first? Is it your thoughts, your emotions, or your body? And now, one more time, connecting to the breath. Taking in a few deep breaths. And if your eyes are closed, then slowly and gently open your eyes. Now, we could think and believe that our brain's main job is to think. However, that's not true, because the first responsibility of the brain is to ensure that we will survive. Our nervous system has just this one primary job. So, long before the conscious mind can analyze a situation, the nervous system is already scanning the environment and it's asking, am I safe? Now, If the answer is yes, the body can relax, it can digest, it can connect with others, it can think creatively, it can learn. But if the answer is no, the body prepares to protect us. And this is not even happening consciously, it's happening automatically. We don't choose it. It's encoded in us. So our brain then is trying to solve just one problem, which is to make sure that we survive. And in any situation, in any kind of environment, it's always scanning to find out how much should it invest in being alert. And therefore the question is, am I safe? If the answer is yes, we can be our normal selves, and we can continue to do what we are doing. But if the answer is no, then the body begins preparation, and it's an automatic preparation. Now, we all have an automatic nervous system which regulates our heartbeat. It governs our breathing, our digestion, all our hormones, stress responses. So this operating system has two broad modes. This operating system is doing all the processes in the body that we need to live. Now, these two modes broadly are: one, the sympathetic nervous system, which is commonly, we understand it as the fight or flight response. The second one is the parasympathetic nervous system, which we understand as the rest and digest response. Now, when the brain senses danger, it prepares the body for action. And this is when the sympathetic nervous system takes over. So the body prepares or starts preparing by increasing heart rate, making our breath faster, the muscles begin to tighten, and your attention narrows. So all the energy that's available, it's now redirected towards survival, which is why, we call it the fight or flight response. Now, it's one of the reasons we've survived and we continue to survive. The other part, which is the parasympathetic nervous system, once the danger has passed, this system helps to restore balance. So slowly, when it senses that it can now take it easy, the heart rate begins to slow, our breathing again starts to deepen, digestion resumes, and the body's now, in the process of preparing itself. So that's what the rest and the digest response is doing. So all the healing, all the recovery, it happens here. And because we will not be able to eliminate stress from our lives, the goal is not to eliminate stress. The goal instead is to return to balance as effectively as we can, as timely as we can after stress. Now, why we can sometimes stay stuck in stress, even when, say, the stressful event has ended, it's because the body doesn't always get the message. So, say, there's been an argument in the morning. By evening, your shoulders are still tight. Or, say, once you finished a difficult project, something you spend a lot of time, energy on, you still can't relax. And this is because the nervous system, it sometimes remains activated even after the threat that was outside has gone. So, in reality, there is no threat. The danger has passed, but our nervous system is still activated. The body still remembers because it's trying to protect us. So, there are times when we say, I know everything is okay now, but I still don't feel okay. And more often than not, we could not understand why this is happening. Now, we can think that stress is a mental experience, but very often we notice it first in the body. And this is why when we sit, say in meditation, sit with ourselves for even a minute or two, we can diagnose if there is any stress in the body, and we can run our awareness through the jaw. If find out if the jaw is clenched, how is the heart beating? Do we feel like we have a racing heart? Is there tightness in the chest? Is there restlessness in legs? Then any headache, any fatigue, any rumbling in the stomach. Now, the body is trying to communicate with us by giving us these signals of, how it needs some attention. And we can feel it very evidently in certain parts of the body or certain movements of the body. Now, the body is trying to communicate with us, but many times we could not be listening to the body. So it's really important. That is why to be very aware, mindful of the body, and some practices like say yoga, tai chi, they can bring us more in touch with the body. They can improve our mind body connection. So as a practice, really sitting and spending a minute or two assessing if you feel any tension anywhere, and then working your way through it. So one more thing that I wanted to talk about was stress, which is that stress itself per se might not be harmful. So all stress is not bad stress. In fact, we need stress. So say when we exercise, that stress. If we are learning something, that's stress. Giving birth is stress. Mm, say starting a new job is stress. So the problem is not that there is activation inside, our systems, or that we are not more charged than usual. That's not the problem. The problem is that we could stay activated without adequate recovery. So, if say we have a rubber band, it's designed to stretch, but it can't remain stretched forever. And therefore, it's sometimes, there could be periods in life where stress is inevitable, and we might not be able to change the situation. But rather than wishing, hoping that things were different, um, and feeling helpless in the circumstance, what we can do to help ourselves is focus on recovery, and pay more attention, pay more time to things we can do to recover from that stress. Now, we could at times, because we're talking about safety and how safety is of primary importance to the brain, and how asking ourselves the question, am I safe, can also also make us more aware of if we are feeling more activated than usual. And there are times when we could be physically safe and still not feel safe. So safety then is not just about circumstances, it's also about our experience. How are we experiencing something? And we could have our personal triggers, our personal limitations about what we think is safe for us or not. Now, how how can we find more safety? So how can we make the nervous system find some um, a feeling of safety, even though circumstances could be what they are? There are many areas through which we could bring in more recovery and more safety for our nervous system. Some of these are being around supportive relationships. So engaging with people we know, who we can trust, who know have our best interest, who say are wise. So having that network of supportive relationships, something to lean on. Another very important thing is a predictable routine. So when the brain knows that this is how things usually turn out in a day, and it doesn't have to engage too much in deciding one thing from the next, it feels safe for the brain. And this is also very true for kids. So if, say, kids have attention issues, or they are struggling with, say, um, focus, or or any kind of habit, having predictable routines for them can create a feeling of safety, even emotional safety. Then being listened to can make us feel safe, and being listened to, of course, in a way which is non-judgmental, which is empathetic, can really help us. Sleep can help us. It can physically and mentally help us recover faster. Any gentle movement, so whether it's going for a walk or stretching, anything that can in a way help you just shake it off a bit. So gentle movement also creates more flow of energy, and we feel like we're able to get us out of the rut. Then slow breathing is something that's very helpful, because it can help bring the parasympathetic nervous system to the forefront. And and the breath, when it's slow and when it's deep, it gives a signal to both the body and the brain that things are okay now, and that it's safe to relax. So slow breathing is one of the fastest, quickest ways to help us recover and bring us back to balance. Then another way to feel, for the nervous system to feel safe, is to spend time in nature. Um, it can have a very recuperative, effect on us. Then laughter, anything that's light, makes us, feel joy, and moments of awe can also restore safety in us. And I think lastly would be that a feeling of belonging, the trust that comes from, say, being a part of something, because, inherently the nervous system is designed for getting feeling from belonging. So maybe consciously, bringing that feeling up or engaging in with people that can make you feel like that can help bring your nervous system to balance. And therefore, the point being that healing is not sometimes even possible as removing stress. It's more about increasing experiences of safety. Now, again, being very mindful of how we take ourselves through this journey, because we could assume and we could label ourselves that, I'm just an anxious person. But like most things, regulation is also a skill. So every time we can notice the body and respond to it with care, not be critical, be supportive, give time, give attention. Every time we do that, we are teaching the nervous system something new, so creating a new pathway. And this deepens, strengthens with repetition. So every time we do it, every moment of recovery, this becomes evidence to the brain that you can return to balance. And we know now that the nervous system learns through repeated experiences. So if instead of fear, if it has been able to learn fear, it can also learn safety. And therefore, um, incorporating some of these as daily practices, where we can slowly and gently bring our um, our nervous system to a place of rest. And therefore, it's also really important that we don't wait until, say, there is a difficult situation. But at the same time, we don't even have to wait until we are calm or when things are settled down, because we could believe that once everything is okay, or once I'm in a better headspace, once I feel calm, then I will take care of myself. But it's often the other way around, because when we take care of ourselves, it calm is a natural, uh, byproduct of it. So when we are not feeling okay, or when circumstances are not great, we owe ourselves to take care of ourselves. And it can begin with simple things like just taking a walk or drinking more water, being more connected with people we trust, we love, spending some time in silence, taking a few slow breaths every few hours, stepping outside into sunlight, and just these small things can create, say, a momentum of deeper change. But not just that, small acts of regulation, they keep sending our nervous system a very important message that it's safe. So a practical tool that I would like to discuss that you can use as, say, a four-step reset. It's called the safe check-in. So you could maybe set an alarm for two times in a day, or you could create a habit that, okay, after lunch I'll practice safe, or even when, say, you're starting to feel overwhelmed, you can practice with this tool. Now the S of stop stands for stop. So when, say, we are feeling charged, or even while we are going through a usual day, as a practice, just stopping, pausing for a few seconds and becoming aware of what's happening. So say you've been doing something, ordinary, but or usual, but you stop, you check in, and you ask yourself, what's going on? How am I feeling? Just a weather check. And and even when it's a difficult situation, before you react, you could just pause for a few seconds. The A in safe stands for acknowledge. So when you pause, the second step is giving a name to what is happening. So say, what is happening in my body? Okay, my shoulders are feeling tense, or I can feel like my heart is a bit racy. What's happening in my mind? Am I feeling anxious about something? Am I sad? Whatever the right vocabulary that you can find to really acknowledge and um, sort of tell back to yourself what's happening. And the F of safe is to find safety. Now, in that moment, once you once you've paused, you've acknowledged and found whatever it is, you then help your nervous system feel a little safer in that moment. And how can you do that? You can do that with, 3 deep breaths, taking a whiff of fresh air, maybe a sip of water, maybe saying, hello to someone, feeling your feet on the ground, anything which is a small a 10-second activity, but it'll help you just give a signal to your nervous system that it is safe. And the E of safe stands for engage. Then it's so S is for stop, A is to acknowledge, F is to find safety, and the E is to engage. So choosing that one action that supports regulation. So once you've once you've just figured out what it is you want to do um, as a tool for your safety, practicing this once each day, even when you're not overwhelmed in the middle of the day, so that it becomes familiar before we need it most. Now, this is a reflection. You could write it down, or you could type in chat. You could just think in your mind. What is your personal safety map? So, completing the sentence for yourself and finding as many points as you can. My nervous system feels safe when. So examples could be when I walk in nature, or when I spend time with my pet, when someone listens to me without interrupting. What are these things for you? So finding for yourself, my nervous system feels safe when. What makes your nervous system feel safe? Okay, great if you can find 10 such things. And then again, my nervous system feels threatened when. So again, completing 10 statements. So we can recognize our patterns. What makes my nervous system feel threatened? So my nervous system feels threatened when? And completing, say if you can find 10 statements. And then maybe circling 3 things from what makes you feel safe from that list that you can practice regularly as a habit. So, so today we've been talking about, how the nervous system can take time, the body can take time to recover from a sense of danger, threat, and also, having that understanding that the nervous system is trying to protect us, but sometimes it can be overprotective and sometimes it can mistake discomfort for danger. Sometimes it can hold on to something longer than necessary. So we can then offer our nervous system some understanding, and we can practice various kinds of tools or habits, or just these friends that we have, our breath, nature, how we can use that to give a signal to the nervous system that we are safe, it can relax, and it can go into rest and digest mode. So that was today. If there are any questions, then we can have them now. Tomorrow we will be talking about the meaning that we attach to setbacks and how the meaning that we attach to setbacks can influence our recovery, can influence our resilience, and can influence our ability to move forward. So, how can we, firstly, what are those stories that we are telling ourselves, and how can we reform uh, or retell those stories to ourselves so we can recover faster, we can be more resilient, and we can move forward. So, yeah, so that's tomorrow. Thank you for being here, and thank you for practicing together. Have a good day, good evening, wherever you are, and we'll be meeting tomorrow.